This evening, we'll look at the aftermath of Jesus resurrecting Lazarus from the dead. We'll recall that the overall theme of the book of John is that you may believe, John 20:31. Everything written is intended for those who came after these events to believe that Jesus is the Son of God. It is important that you believe because many people in this world will not believe. Humans tend to be warned and informed, yet reject and deny sound information that is given. Then once calamity comes, they have the nerve to say, "Why didn't you warn me?" Although a personal message and invitation will be given, Scripture still says in John 1 and verse 11 that Jesus came to his own and his own did not receive him. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, knowing that the majority would not believe. He sought those who would believe, who would need a spiritual physician. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead despite their unbelief and encouraged those who would believe. Jesus is the Messiah regardless of how they felt. This miracle brought glory to Jesus and the Father. When we talk about glory, we speak of the brilliance, the radiance of God. You could say that this miracle brought attention to God and encouraged the faith of those who were believers, namely the disciples who needed it. They would be ministering after Jesus' ascension to heaven, and they would be ministering to many who would not believe and who would hate them. However, God must be glorified anyway, and his will must be done. What God does cannot be denied. And sometimes, instead of acknowledging what God does, some choose to ignore him. Sometimes people act as if what God has just done did not happen, and some try to take credit for the work of God. But this miracle, raising Lazarus from the dead, no one could take credit for. Sometimes his detractors will say the devil gave him power to do it. Sometimes they would ignore what Jesus had performed and just say that he broke the Sabbath. The problem is they never acknowledged anything that Jesus would do. And Scripture still says, in all of his ways, acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. Trust in the Lord, Proverbs 3 and verse 23. John said in verse 40 in John chapter 11, records as Jesus told Martha and Mary, if you believe, you will see the glory of God. He said, did I not promise you that you will see the glory of God? To see God's glory requires our faith and our belief in him. And if you have faith in the Lord, you will see that he is working in your life. You will experience the glory of God as well. Every day, you should see God work in your life, especially as he works through you to bless others. So yes, to see God's glory, you must believe. Jesus said in John 7 verse 17, if anyone wills to do his will, he shall know concerning the doctrine, whether it is from God or whether I speak on my own authority. Where is your faith? Do you have a desire? Your faith, your desire helps you know God's will and God's way. It allows you to see his glory and him working in your life. In John chapter 11, the Pharisees did not see God's glory because they did not believe. Jesus came to make us all one in God. He came to unite, yet at the same time, there are consequences to Jesus coming into this world. And the consequence is division. Division came as a reaction to what Jesus taught and represented. For those who did not believe, they would reject it. And it's one thing when someone rejects something and moves on. But when they feel strongly, they let you know by their actions, and they may begin to mistreat you and treat you differently because of their rejection. In Matthew 10, verse 34 through 39, Jesus said, "Do not think that I've come to bring peace on earth. I did not come to bring peace but the sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be those of his own household. He who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and he who loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, and he who does not take up his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. He who finds his life will lose it. He who loses his life for my sake will find it." You must be willing to handle the pressure if you're going to have faith in Jesus. That pressure can move you to follow the crowd. That pressure can move you to say nothing. That pressure can cause you to become frozen for the moment or even for life, never truly making the decision about Jesus Christ. I encourage you, when it comes to choosing sides, to always choose Christ. Come down on the side of Christ. According to John, the confrontations that we continually read about in the gospel according to John led to a division of the people. John 11 and verse 45 reads, "Then many of the Jews who had come to Mary and had seen the things Jesus did believed in him." This miracle moved them to belief in Jesus. They saw the glory of God, and when you see Jesus' glory, it's natural to believe in him. When you don't believe in Jesus, you will never see his glory. Trust in God's sovereignty. Believe in him and he'll show you his glory. I truly believe it. Sometimes when you enjoy God's glory and you work and labor for him as God is working through you, you'll receive what Jesus received: negativity, negative comments, discouragement. All of that is designed to get you to be silent and not open up your mouth. But the glory of Jesus will move you to allow yourself to be used. And as Jesus knew, some would believe and some would not believe. But once again, we will glorify God anyway. John 11, verse 45 through 46 reads, "Then many of the Jews who had come to Mary and had seen the things Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went away to the Pharisees and told the things Jesus did." Normally, when someone believed in Jesus, the Pharisees would question them, such as John chapter 9. But in this particular text, some believed in Jesus, but some went to tell the Pharisees what Jesus had done. The question that I pose to you is it common knowledge that the Pharisees despised Jesus at this point in his ministry? And there is evidence. They showed that they despised Jesus. Every time he opened his mouth, there was a rebuttal. And everyone took note of it. If there was anyone that these people could have told about this miracle, why tell the Pharisees? In this text, it's like they're telling the Pharisees, "Let me tell you what Jesus did." Now bear in mind that when you have no faith, you do not see the glory of God. You do not see God working in your life. You do not acknowledge him in your ways. Jesus and those who believed in Jesus became a threat to the Pharisees. As a matter of fact, in John chapter 12 and verse 9 and following, we're going to read that not only did they want to kill Jesus for him doing this good deed, but they also wanted to put Lazarus to death, because many people were beginning to believe in Jesus because Lazarus was resurrected. We have to check our hearts and ensure that when we mention somebody's name, we offer up praise to them. Or if we bring up somebody's name to someone we know that they are at odds with, let us encourage them to be reconciled. I do not want to bring up a name just to speak of them in a negative fashion or to talk about them. If you do that, you bringing up their name will put yourself in these individuals' shoes who brought up Jesus' name to people who they knew despised him. And now they're talking about murder, which made them partakers of their madness. John 11 and verse 47 and following, then the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered a council and said, what shall we do? For this man works many signs. If we let him alone like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and take away both our place and nation. This is a moment of clarity where they become honest with themselves. In this text, they confess something that they have been reluctant to admit, and that is, it is true. The works of Jesus is true. He is performing many signs. But they said if we leave him alone, now they never left Jesus alone. They always followed him. They always interrupted his Bible classes. They always said something negative about his ministry. But they're saying that we have to kill him for the nation. This is a straw man argument. Jesus was not trying to overthrow Caesar. He was not trying to establish a physical throne in Jerusalem. He wanted his throne to be set up in their hearts, and they would not give Jesus their hearts. Their problem with Jesus was not about the Sabbath. It was not about the people, but their position among the people. Every great quality that Jesus had, they did not have, and it drove them into madness. Jesus could not heal without them being upset. He could not teach without them being upset. And at this point, there is nothing else that they can say to the people concerning Jesus. They feared something in Jesus that they did not have to fear. Jesus would actually teach the people to listen to the Pharisees. In Matthew 23 verses 2 and following, Jesus said they sit in Moses' seat. He told them whatever they command you to do, do it, but not according to their works. In this text, all they can say is Jesus performed many signs, which was a marvelous thing, but they refused to acknowledge the good. For the lost and the blind, that is what they became. Did they truly believe in the power of the resurrection? That did not concern them. They were focused on the here and now. Jesus does more than focus on the here and now. He points us towards life and life in the life after. Their darkness within them became great. They are deciding to kill Jesus. And they're trying to say that we're going to do it for the people. I cannot legitimize it. And I encourage you to never legitimize doing wrong to anybody or doing wrong in any situation, saying that good is going to come out of it. Did God know what they were going to do? Yes. Was it the will of God that they did it the way that they did it? No. But all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Joseph told his brothers that you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. God knew their hearts and understood how they would react to his goodness and his perfect will. And he sent Jesus to bring glory. And he used their actions not to save a nation, but to save the world. Not to deliver them from Rome, but to deliver them from the consequences of their sins. We thank Jesus for all the work that he has done and all the work that he will continue to do for us. May God bless your heart. May God bless your life.